When to cull your sheep or any livestock animal for that matter. That's a question a lot of shepherds and farmers go through. So in this video today, I'm going to talk about really when an animal doesn't make the cut to stay as a production animal on a farm or homestead. So welcome back to another video with the High Mountain Homestead. You guys know that we do regenerative agriculture on a small scale. We are all about better soil, better plants, and better animals. Regenerative agriculture is really all about raising things in the way that nature intended it. And if you think about sheep, or really any herbivore, in their natural state, they are a prey animal. So, sheep are coyote and wolf and bear food in a natural setting. On my farm, they're not. So think about the last time you watched a nature show. Maybe you watched a gray wolf chase down a caribou or something like that, and you saw an animal get eaten, right? So on the nature show, the narrator probably referred to natural selection, survival of the fittest, something like that. You probably had some thoughts going through your head like that. Well, on a homestead or a farm, you don't have natural selection. You are Mother Nature for your flock. And so you need to know your animals well enough to decide who makes the cut and who doesn't make the cut. So you need to think about what are your goals in raising livestock. And so for me in my homestead, I want to raise sheep, but not just any sheep. I want to raise sheep that are hardy, that are low input, that don't need to be babysat, that don't need to be constantly fed chemicals, that can be rotated. Like, I have goals for how I want my flock to function. It's not just I want to make sheep work at any cost. No, I want to make sheep work at a very low input, as low input as possible sort of setting. So truthfully, I haven't had to cull yet. And really, it took me defining these traits of my flock and realizing that I don't want to put up with anything less than what I really want. And so for those that don't know the term, a cull animal is an animal that is not worth breeding back into your line. And so this is the specimen over here. She and her lamb, I was actually quite worried about them when they were first, when this little ram was born. And what I wanted to do is talk to you about why. What makes her a cull sheep? And so my definition of cull is basically wait till this ram can be weaned, and then to process this ewe. So here's why. Well, you can see just right off the bat, her disposition is quite different. Everyone else's is kind of up eating. Her lamb's actually pretty vigorous, all things considered. He's gaining weight just fine. Luckily, I haven't had to step in. He's not a bottle baby. But when he was born, she just rejected him. Just flat out rejected him for the first 6 to 8 hours. Didn't want anything to do with him. I also noticed about 2 days before he was born, she started looking real thin. And on the day of his birth, it was very obvious that she had worms. Now, I've only been doing this for a couple of years. I've never had the situation of a late-term ewe with worms. So I waited until she lambed before I dewormed her. And that was almost a month ago now. So she's actually looking much better. Obviously if she had serious worms, she probably wouldn't be here by now. But yeah, she's not looking great. She's not a fabulous ewe. And the thing is like, if I really wanted to, I could chemically deworm her, again, I could put her on grain, fix a lot of problems. Like, there are things that are possible, but really, I don't want more of this on the flock. I want more of that on my flock, right? And see, she's not helpless. She'll get up and eat. And you look at her body conformation, like, she's put weight back on. She's got a good-sized bag. On paper, like right now, she's not a terrible ewe. However, and I'm also not saying that just because I had to chemically deworm automatically makes her a cull. But I think about the situation that I was in. We just got out of, for North Carolina, a pretty severe winter. We had snow on the ground for multiple weeks. Definitely a hard frost. And she's been eating hay for most of that time. Good quality alfalfa orchard grass hay. So if you think about that, and the realities of that is like she shouldn't have worms. If we're coming off a very harsh winter, she should be in pretty good shape, you know, aside from being pregnant. So there's that we had to deworm her when no one else needed it. Everyone else is doing great. And finally, we had to pull her lamb too. I chalk that up to worms. She just wasn't in a good state. And then, like I said, she wasn't a great mom either. She rejected the lamb. I was out hunting for colostrum that day to make sure that her ram, that's not her ram, I think this is her ram over here, to make sure that her ram, you know, was being fed. And luckily she ended up taking him, but, you know, there were just a lot of signals. And when I think about what I want on my homestead, again, being low input is a priority for me. And if I have to deworm somebody who's coming off a very harsh winter, that's a concern. If I have to pull a lamb, that's a concern. If she's going to reject her baby for the first half day of its life, that's a concern. But like I said, it's okay. He's going to be raised out and be a fine, you know, addition to our freezer, and so will she. So it's a harsh reality. But the point is, I mean, if you think about really what you're doing, it's taking this sheep that on the surface might just be an okay sheep and making the preemptive decision to say, you know what, this is not the direction I want my flock to go. I have better things in mind for the flock. It's a hard thing to do. It's not something that I make lightly. But it comes down to this decision tree with me that where she's at just doesn't support the vision for my flock. And I also don't want to sell her. Like, if she's a cull animal for me, she's not going to be, you know, the star for anyone else's flock. Like, I just don't feel honest about offloading a sheep for that. So this is my first cull. I would be very interested to hear your opinions. I know a lot of you folks have more experience than me who have been doing this. So let me know what other things you look for in your cull animals, how you make that decision. I've made a lot of mistakes while doing this, and if you haven't seen this video of my mistakes I made my first 2 years with sheep, definitely check that out. It's good for a laugh. I even watch it again sometimes just to see how far I've come. It'll save you a lot of time if you're new to sheep. Thanks for stopping by the channel today. I'll see you on the next video.